Good morning. Welcome to the Sunday's Gita class. Let's start the class with some meditation on the Gita itself. Om Parthaye Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayan Swayam Vyasen Gratitam Puran Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamrit Varshini Bhagavati Mashtadashadhyayane Am Tvam Anusandhame Bhagavat Gite Bhavadveshini Namo Astu Te Vyas Vishal Buddhe Full Arvind Ayat Patra Netar Yen Tavya Bharat Tail Purnaha प्रज्वलितो ज्ञानमया प्रदीपः परपान पारी जाताये तोत्र वेत्र एकपाने ज्ञान मुद्राये कृष्णाय गीता अमृत दुहे नमः सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोगदा गोपाल नंदना पार्थो वत्सा सुधीर भोगता दुग्धम गीता अमृतम महत वसुदेव सुतम देवम कंस चानूर मर्दनम देवकी परमानंदम कृष्णम वंदे जगद्गुरुम भीष्म द्रोण तटा जयद्रथ जला गांधार नीलोत्पला शल्य ग्राहवती कृपेन वाहनी कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थाम विकर्ण घोर मकरा दुर्योधन अवर्तने सो तीरना खलु पांडवै रन नदी के वर्तका केशवा पाराशरे वत्सरो जमलम गीता अर्धगंधोटकम नानाख्यानक केसरम हरि कथा संबोधन अबोधितम लोके सज्जन षटपद रह रह पेपीयमान मुदा भूयाद भारत पंकजम कलिमल प्रध्वंसी न श्रेयसे मूकम करोति वाचालम पंगुम लंघ्यते गिरिम यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानंद माधवम यम ब्रह्म वरुण इंद्र रुद्र मरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्ये स्तवे वेदै सांग पद क्रमोपनिषदै गायन्ति यम सामगा ज्ञानवस्थे तद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यम योगिनो यस्यन्तं न विदुसुर असुरगणा देवाय तस्मै नमः. Let's open our Gita books. And we ended our last week's class where Lord Krishna is telling us the definition of a sattvic dan. Sattvic dan. Dan means giving away something. It could be giving away of money or any other kind of a material possession. It could be giving of your talent or even helping somebody in some other way. So even to feed the poor, that's also a dan. Teaching someone who doesn't know something, that is a dan too. And we can always do it either sattvic or rajasic or tamasic way. So any kinds of a charity are given. So let's look at what we learned last week. What is a sattvic dan? That charity which is given to one who does nothing in return. So that means no strings attached. Knowing it to be a duty to give in a fit place and time to a worthy person, that charity is held to be sattvic. So from here we can see that sharing what we have, giving away what we have is our duty. So when we do it as a duty, but then definitely the right time and a right place to a worthy person. So that means use your intellect. What are you giving? Where are you giving? Few months ago, we studied Kathopanishad. Over there, the young boy Nachiketa, very young, only 8 years old, he saw his father giving away the barren cows. That means unworthy cows, the cows which didn't have any use to anybody. And that disturbed him. And the whole Kathopanishad starts from that. So sattvic dan. So whenever we are giving, see, giving is important, but what we are giving, pay attention to that. Whom we are giving, at what place we are giving, with what kind of attitude which we are giving. Okay. Now let's look at what is a Rajasic Dan then. Because we got to have the information, the knowledge, so that we don't fall into the trap of Rajasic Dan or a Tamasic Dan. Verse number 21. Yat tu pratyupakarartham phalam udeshye va punaha diyate cha pariklishtam tat danam rajasam samritam. Yat means which, tu means indeed. Pratyupakarartham, with view to receiving in return. That I'm giving something, what will I get in return? Okay, any kind of a benefit. It could be a praise, it could be some other material benefit. Phalam, fruit, udeshya, looking for, va means or, punha means again. Diyate is given, cha means and, pariklishtam, reluctantly. Tat means that, danam means the gift or the charity, rajasam, rajasik, samritam is held to be. That gift which is given with a view to receiving in return. Or looking for fruit again, or reluctantly. I don't want to give, but I have to give. That's reluctantly, is held to be rajasic. So that means it's not coming out of you, flowing out of you as a duty. So the one thing he said, hope of receiving in return some benefit. Perhaps at a different time and place. That is a passionate kind, that's a rajasic kind. Or if it's done reluctantly, not willingly. So we got to see, these are the attitudes in the giver's personality. But now let's look at the tamasic in verse number 22. Adesh kale yat danam apatrebhya cha diyate asatrim avgyatam tat tamsam udahritam. Adesh kale, at a wrong place and time. Adesh. So this is in front of desh also, in front of kale also. Okay. Sometimes when the word is compounded in Sanskrit, so is written in front, so it goes for both of them, desh and kale. So at a wrong place as well as time. Yat means that, danam means gift or charity, apatrebhya, to unworthy person. Cha means and, diyate is given. Asatrim, without respect. Avgyatam, with insult. That means that tamas is tamasic, udahritam is declared to be. So the charity that is given at a wrong place and wrong time to unworthy persons, without respect or with insult, is declared to be tamasic. Unworthy person means undeserving. So charity that is made not at the proper time, at the wrong place, to an unworthy person without respect or with contempt, are the charities of tamasic kind. Okay. Charity must come from within us, an expression of an irascible urge of our own heart. In Hindi we say dil se do. So that means it just flows out of you. So intelligent charity must spring from the abundance felt within the individual. When we feel that we have enough, and we are just giving from that abundance. Okay. But if a person feels impoverished by his giving, that is not a charity. That's not a charity. So now he has given us a lot of instructions about food also, about yagya also, about tapasya also, and about dana also. Some people might think that so much burden while we are doing all this. How will we make everything sattvic? How can we really remember all of it? So much knowledge. The last part of this chapter, Lord Krishna has given us a nirdesh. That sure, do your homework beforehand. Where to give, what to eat, how to worship, how to do the tapasya. But while doing it, keep your mind calm. Do that homework before. While doing it, he says, recite this. That means remember God. At that time, don't think that is it sattvic, or maybe I just fell into the trap of tamsikta. Don't go there. Remember God only. But definitely do the homework before. Make sure when you cook, when you put the food in the plate, what you're cooking. Or even at the same time, the giving also. So in all those areas. Okay, so let's look at the last part of this chapter. Verse number 23. Om Tat Sat iti nirdeshaha brahmanaha trividha samrita brahmana ten veda cha yagya cha vihita pura. Om Tat Sat. Iti means thus, nirdesh. Nirdesh means a designation. Brahmana of Brahm. Trividha, threefold. Samrita has been declared. Brahmana, Brahmans, ten by that, Veda, Vedas, cha and Yagya, sacrifices. Cha means and Vihita, created. Pura, formally. Om Tat Sat has been declared to be the triple designation of Brahman. Okay, designation means it's a symbolic representation. Om Tat Sat. By that were created formally the Brahman, Vedas, and sacrifices. So that means from them came the priests, the scriptures, and the yajnas. So Om Tat Sat, a nirdesh. Nirdesh is generally given in a ritualism. So by performing that ritual, if any kind of a defect is there, it has been removed. Because you are pouring all that positive energy into something. So even if there is some kind of a material defect, it will go away. That's what he's trying to tell us. Okay. So each action, no doubt, has its fruits, but the fruit depends not only on the actions, but also on the purity of the intentions or motives entertained by the doer, the performer. So by saying Om Tat Sat, we are purifying our motive and intention. Because otherwise, however diligent may be the performance of the sacred act, if the motive behind such act is foul, then the outcome or the dividends will be ineffective to yield. So that's why motive got to be purified. So actions performed by all of us may appear similar, but the results vary from individual to individual according to our intentions. So that's why Lord Krishna is giving us a very high level of intention here. So the mode of goodness is serene, illuminating, yet Sattva is also within the realm of Maya. Remember, Maya has these three qualities. So up to this sattvic level, we can put some effort, but still it's Maya. So we must not get attached to it. Instead, we must use the mode of goodness as a stepping stone to reach the transcendental platform. So Om Tat Sat symbolizes different aspects of the absolute truth. Om Tat Sat. So we make our intentions, our motive brilliant by remembering the absolute. That's how we disassociate ourselves from the Maya. At once, actually, the minute we utter this word with the full understanding, our mind, we are transcending our mind. To the extent that sacred activity becomes selfless. To that extent that all the rewards are extremely pure. That's how we learn how to liquidate our ego. That's how we evolve ourselves to that spiritual status. That's what he's telling us in this chapter. So Om Tat Sat is a sentence of 3 words, and each denoting one aspect of the reality. Om represents the transcendental and pure self. Om. Absolute, unborn, which is the infinite substratum. All the projections of our body, mind, and intellect are maintained by Om. That is Om. And Tat is used in our scriptures to indicate the eternal goal. The changeless and ever perfect, that is our goal. Tat indicates that from which everything has come, into which everything exists, and into which everything merges back at the end. Tat. Then we say Tat, Tvam Asi, that Tat. And then Sat, Sat means existence. The principle of existence, functioning through all things perceived, felt, and thought of in our everyday life, is called Sat. So to invoke the thoughts of Om, which expresses the transcendental absolute, or to invoke Tat, the universal truth, or to cherish the concept of Sat, the reality, what are we doing? We are tuning up our instruments of actions. All our activities, whatever we are doing, we are connecting with the higher power when we are reciting this Om Tat Sat. So remember, if somebody asks you, what is this Om Tat Sat? It is an eternal reality indicated by the triple designation of Brahma. Om Tat Sat. Om Tat Sat is the source from which everything has come out. That's why he said Brahman. The Vedas have come from there. And the sacrifices proceeded even at the time of creation. Everything has come from God. That's what it means. The superimposition can only rise from and exists on and disappear into that which is their own substrate. If there was no rope, we cannot superimpose snake on it. Where did it come from? Snakes came from that rope. In our imagination, but it came from there. Then it existed in there too, and ultimately when somebody turned the light on, where did it disappear to? Into the rope. That's what he's talking about over here. All human activities and endeavors can be classified in 2 heads. That's what we are learning in this chapter. Ahar. Ahar is activities for the maintenance of the body. That's ahar. Sure, he talked about the food, what kind of a food we should take. But we do take food from our other senses too. With the eyes also we see, with the ears we hear. Those are also food. So that's also a ahar. Sure, we are more engrossed into the food which we eat, but remember the other foods also. Then activities that nourishes the culture by all the cooperative activities pursued in dedication, that is a yajna, and dhan, and all the intelligent way to control ourselves, that is tapa. So these are the two things we do. So when are we to use the term Om? Now in the verses 24, 25 and 26, so in 24 he is telling us when should you utter Om, and when Tat, and then when Sat. Tasmat Om udaharitye yagye dan tapakriya pravatante vidhan ukta satatam brahma vadinam. Tasmat, therefore, Om udaharite, uttering yagye dan tapakriya, the acts of yagya and dan and tapa. So sacrifice, gifts and austerity. Kriya means the action. Parvatante, begun. Vidhan ukta, as enjoined in the scriptures. Satatam, always. Brahmavadinam, by students of Brahma. We all know Om is considered the name for the formless Brahma. Om. So he says, therefore, the smart means therefore, with the utterance of Om are begun the acts of sacrifice, gifts, dhan, and austerity, as enjoined in the scriptures, always by the students of Brahma. All the Vedic mantras, they start with Om. Om. So the term Om is uttered while acts of sacrifice, dhan, and austerity are undertaken by the followers of the higher life. Brahmavadina means a people who have recognized that my goal in life is to merge with God. That's a Brahmavadina, students of Brahma. To cherish in our mind the divine awareness and the absolute supremacy of the infinite, as expressed in Om, is to add purpose and meaning to all what we do. Om. So it's not just reciting with our mouth. Uttering is really remembering the meaning of it. The bhavana has to be there too. Om. To invoke in our mind the divine concept of the absolute is to free our personality from the limited fields of egocentric attachments. Because most of the time we do things for our own benefit. We forget the ultimate. When we say Om, we should remember the ultimate goal. Because when a mind is liberated from its limitations, it becomes more efficient in all the austerities. It becomes more selfless in the yajnas also, and more liberal in charities also. So that means that's how we purify all our activities, by remembering Om. When is Tat used? Verse number 25. Tat iti anabhisandhai phalam yagye tapaha kriya dan kriya cha vividha kriyante moksha ankshibhi. Tat means that. And this that is written with a capital T. That. Iti means thus, anabhisandhai, without aiming at phalam, fruit. Yagye tapaha kriya, acts of sacrifice and austerity. Dana kriya, acts of charity. Cha means and, vividha, various. Kriyante are performed. Moksha kankshi bhi, by the seekers of moksha, liberation, freedom, moksha. Uttering tat without aiming at the fruit. These fruits means the worldly fruits. Uttering tat without aiming at the fruits are the acts of sacrifice and austerity and the various acts of gift performed by the seekers of liberation. Seeker of the liberation doesn't go for the small fruits. No matter what we get in this world, that's limited, that's finite. No matter how long we live, if we are looking for a long life, ultimately it will end. No matter how much money we have, no matter what kind of a fruit we have in this perishable or temporary world, it's nothing compared to that absolute. So that I want that which is infinite. So that's why he said, those who are seekers of liberation. So the Shastra prescribes a technique to liberate our personality from our own physical appetites, emotional weaknesses, and intellectual entanglements. This kind of a liberation widens our horizon, takes us beyond the earthly sorrows. Because all these come to us to obsess us with their fatigued restlessness. Because a person who's trying to liberate himself from his own attachments, selfish desires, self-centeredness, and consequent agitations should definitely perform all these activities, but learn to perform the activities in such a way that the causes which generate the disturbances are not there anymore. But deliberately, this person extinguishes these disturbances. So this particular verse, verse number 25, is providing a tip to the seeker on how to achieve that higher goal, which is our ultimate goal. Yagya, dan, tap are not to be performed for material rewards. That's what he's trying to tell us. But for the eternal welfare of the soul through God realization. That's why we do that. They purify us. So Tat indicates the universal truth. It declares the oneness of all living creatures. So to remember the large interest of the family is to forget our own self-interest. We know that. Every parent does it. To work for the community is to let go of the family interests. Okay, if in the community, if we are needed, we tell the family that no, they come first. And to work for the national redemption is to overlook the limited community benefits. And to work for the world and humanity is to sink our material or national interests. So it's always reaching to the higher, always reaching to the higher. Let go of the lower results. That's what Lord Krishna is teaching us. So to work in the field of yagya or tapardhan with a mind that is tuned up to tat, the universal oneness of the spiritual truth, is to work with no ego. That's how we will redeem ourselves from the limitations of the matter. And what is the significance of repeating Sat? Let's look at verse number 26. Because the three words are what? Om, Tat, Sat. Sad bhave, sadhu bhave cha, sat iti etat prayujyate, prashastam karmani tatha, sat shabad parth yujyate. Sad bhave in the sense of reality. Sadhu bhave in the sense of goodness. Cha means and. Sat means perpetual goodness and virtue. Iti means thus, etat means this, paryujyate is used. Prashastam, auspicious. Karmani in the sense of an act. Tatha also. Sat shabd. Shabd is the word. Parth is for Arjun. Yujyate is used. The word sat is used in the sense of reality and of goodness. And also, O Parth, the word sat is used in the sense of an auspicious act. So sat is used to mean both reality and goodness. Sad bhave, sadhu bhave. And it is also used for all praiseworthy actions. That's why we say it's a satkaram. So in everyday contact with the world, we live in a realm of relative reality. And we are told to take the world we perceive, we feel, and we thought, because this is what we do, as absolutely real. So the term sat is often used to remind us that all these relative realities have the self-same substratum, sat, the absolute reality. Okay, so in that sense, this sat is used. So the use of the designation sat or Brahma is given in the next verse also. Verse number 27. Yagye tapsi dane cha sthiti sat iti cha uchyate karam cha ev tadarthyam sat iti ev abhidhiyate. Yagye in sacrifice, tapsi in austerity, dane in gift, cha means and, sthiti steadiness. Sat iti means thus, cha means and, uchyate is called. Karam is action, cha and ev means also, tadarthyam. In connection with these, or for the sake of the Supreme. Tadarthyam. Sat iti thus, ev even, abhidhiyate is called. Steadfastness in sacrifice, austerity, and charity is also called sat. And also action in connection with these. That means for the sake of Supreme is called sat. So the term sat is used to indicate a person's faith and devotion in sacrifice, austerity, and charity. Sat registers our faith in the principles underlying these activities. So in other words, even acts of sacrifice, austerity, when they are not of the sattvic type, can be rendered good when they are pursued with this required inner attunement, which is gained by invoking the concept of the Supreme, Om, or Tat, or the Sat, the infinite Brahman. So if these chantings are undertaken with faith and sincerity, the devotee's mind expands and gives up all its selfishness and arrogance. So that means maybe you are not starting out, and no one does in the beginning, starts out from that higher, because if you're already connected with Brahm, then there's no need to do any of this. But we are starting from the bottom. We do have some ego or egocentric desires. They will bring some attachments. But if we remember this Nirdesh, slowly the egocentric desires, they will fall down. We need to learn how to cut off these shackles, which have been forged in the fields of activity. We have to re-enter the very realm of action, and we got to learn how to persuade ourselves to perform such right karma, so that we liquidate the karma phala, the fruits of the actions. Because some of the wrong actions we have done in the past, we got to liquidate those also, which are called vasanas. But current actions also, we have to learn how to do them properly. And this is accomplished by an intelligent adjustment of our mental attitude when we follow these instructions. These required changes, we need to remember, of the infinite reality, as indicated by these three words, Om Tat Sat. The principle is that the actions can leave behind only such reactions as are ordered by the type of motives and attitudes of the performer. So all these acts become perfect only when done in full faith. Full faith. Ashraddhya hutam datam tapaha taptam kritam cha yat asatiti uchyate parth na chatat pretye na ih. Ashraddhya, without faith. Hutam is sacrificed. Datam, given. Tap, austerity. Okay, so hutam word over here is for the yajna. See, that's why we do the ahutis in the yajna. Hutam. Hutam datam tapaha. Taptam is practiced. Kritam performed. Cha means and, yat means whatever. Asat, iti means thus, uchyate is called parth. Na cha, not, and tat means that, pretye, hereafter. That means after death, after leaving this body. Na ih, not here, while living in this body. So whatever is sacrificed, given or performed, and whatever austerity is practiced without faith, it is called asat. So asat is opposite of sat. Oh Parth, it is not for here or hereafter, after death. This is a pretty thundering negative statement Lord Krishna is making. That if there is no faith, an individual without faith, and if that person performs the most glorious act, no benefit to it. Faith has to be there. Action can create only such effects as are ordered by the allure of the faith, or the conviction of the performer. And that is what steadfastness is. Steadfastness. The intellectual values entertained by the seeker will supply that glow in his or her actions. Because the results of the actions depend upon the sincerity and the ardor which the actions are undertaken. The good or the bad effects of the actions directly depend upon the strength of the faith with which the actions are undertaken or performed. So, asat, where there's no faith, ashraddha. So the devoted actions, spiritual or religious, when undertaken without faith, fail to produce any result. So without Shraddha, no progress or evolution can ever take place. This is what he's trying to tell us. And our faith should not be based upon our own impressions of the mind and intellect. It should be based upon the infallible authority of the Vedic scriptures and the Guru. This is the essence of the 17th chapter. Because Arjuna asked this question. A person who has not studied the scriptures, what kind of a faith he has? So Lord Krishna is saying that kind of a faith will not take you anywhere. Got to have faith in the scriptures or try to find out, because all this chapter, the whole Bhagavad Gita, what is this? It is a scripture of the highest order, written in very simple language, very clear language, in a question and answer mode, so that it makes sense to us. So hereafter, it's not only in the realm of the spirit that this law holds good, but also in the material world also. That means our day-to-day activities. Without faith, no one can come to shine in any field of activity. Both in the secular activities, it could be in our work, it could be in our house, it could be in the relationships, or it could be in the sacred performance of religious actions. The factor that determines the quality performance of religious acts, the factor that determines the quality and quantity of the result is our faith in our own efficiency and goodness and in our field of activity. These kind of actions performed without faith, they say they become barren. That's how we should understand Prasad. Ineffective. Prasad. So faith is so important. So this is the last verse of this chapter 17. So let's stop the class here today. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Visheshyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you very much.